1 week after Hurricane Joaquin's first appearance as a tropical depression, emergency teams have been dispatched to determine the full extent of damage from the dangerous storm to provide the much-needed relief. Good evening, everyone. I'm Keishla Adderley with a special edition of the Bahamas Tonight, The Recovery. Hurricane Joaquin is gone now, but the islands impacted by the Category 4 hurricane are now left picking up the pieces. Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie and a team flew into Long Island on Saturday to get a first-hand look at the damage and set in motion plans to aid in the recovery of the island. Our Cleopatra Murphy has the story tonight.
Because this hurricane was a monster. I've never experienced nothing like this before. What I went through, I said, I don't want to go through this again.
Major devastation on Long Island after Hurricane Joaquin ripped through the island, leaving the Deadman's Key Airport, the surrounding community, and Clarence Town underwater. The southern part of the island was the hardest hit. Phone services are down and electricity is out. The road from Stella Maris to Deals is impassable. Escalating rumors of deaths on the island prompted Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie to provide clarity after being updated.
There has been a rumor and speculation about loss of life on Long Island. I've spoken with the Commissioner of Police who has been moving around these islands himself, and he indicated to me a few minutes ago that that rumor is not true. He said there has been one death which is not connected to the hurricane itself. We know the name of the person who died. We know where he was living on Long Island. The rumor seems to have emanated from 8 persons who moved from their residence to safer premises or safer location. Those persons, I'm advised by the Commissioner, have been found, and therefore when you heard about 8 people dying, that is absolutely not true. The rumors have now been magnified where you talk about 30 people. That is absolutely not true, the Commissioner says.
The Prime Minister and the delegation, including cabinet ministers, Free National Movement leader Dr. Hubert Minnis, St. Anne's MP Hubert Chipman, officials from the National Emergency Management Agency, and the Royal Bahamas Defense and Police Forces traveled to Long Island Saturday to assess the damages, of which there were many. Prime Minister Christie says restoring utilities will be an expensive venture for government, but all the resources needed will be provided.
The infrastructure is going to be extraordinary in terms of costs to the central government. The devastation is not just to people's private property, houses, and where we're going to have to find a formula to render assistance, but the infrastructure has been severely damaged, and that goes into millions of dollars when you add the sum total up. And that's why the assessment is very important.
NEMA Executive Director Captain Stephen Russell says the next step is to mobilize forces to not only bring relief to Long Island, but also the other 6 islands ravaged by Joaquin.
We have teamed up with our partners from SEDIMA, and they have at least 3 teams are ready to come into the Bahamas to help us with our damage assessment needs analysis. Our locally trained persons who we train through NEMA program, they're also standing by our assessment teams. We're going to get into the area as early as tomorrow, so we can start our door-to-door assessment, street-to-street assessment. As we speak, out of Jamaica, the Western Indian Guard ship should be departing sometime this evening, and will arrive in the area sometime tomorrow evening, with a view of getting on the ground as of Monday. The Western Indian Guard ship comes equipped with a helicopter and some other items so they can move along the island as necessary.
The trip was cut short after a vehicle bearing the Prime Minister and the opposition leader got a flat tire, but Prime Minister Christie says additional expertise will be brought in to aid NEMA due to the massive blow the Category 4 storm has dealt the islands. Prime Minister Christie returned to Long Island today with hopes of making it into those settlements that were the hardest hit. Officials say relief efforts to the islands impacted by Joaquin will occur simultaneously, and the initial phase has already begun. Cleopatra Murphy, ZNS Network News.
Residents in Rum Cay and San Salvador are starting the cleanup following the devastation of Hurricane Joaquin. Operators of the Riding Rock Resort and Marina have extensive damage to their property and are now focused on rebuilding. Jimenita Swain tells us that the Deputy Prime Minister and BEC Chairman Leslie Miller were on the ground providing relief supplies and assessing the damage. The hope is to have communication and electricity back up and running soon.
I've been here, I've seen Hurricane Francis, Hurricane Floyd, and Hurricane Lily, but this is the worst I've ever seen.
Uprooted trees and damaged buildings marred the 42-room Riding Rock Resort and Marina in San Salvador. Kevin Williams, one of the partners of the family-run business, said the damage suffered as a result of Hurricane Joaquin was extensive.
The roof came off of this building from on Wednesday night. Yeah. First the cold front, and then on Thursday, and we were losing the rest of the building. You can see that the shingle came off of there, and one of the standby generator house came down. You see the wall came down, so all the rooms are all mashed up pretty much.
However, he said a greater challenge exists as they're expecting visitors in a few days.
We have guests coming in on Saturday, 27 guests coming in for the week of diving. So right now we don't know what we're going to do because they all gear up to come in. So I'm trying to figure out, we have no generator, no power, but the generator's all destroyed. And so we have to figure out what we're going to do now to go forward.
While he did not remain at the resort during the storm, the San Salvador resident said the impact was shocking.
I put my hand on my head, and I just thank God to be alive, but I figure with all the other stuff we could now put together and do it, but it's rough.
However, a team of young men we spoke to made it their business to assist residents on that island during the storm.
I was in the tail of the hurricane. Shingles was hitting me. Wood was hitting me, everything was hitting me. That's why I had the life jacket on, and we had to bail out the car out the water. The principal of the primary school, she was stuck in Bonefish Bay, and we had to bail out. It was terrible.
Because we went around to check people's houses and stuff, and we encountered a lot of trouble going through it. We almost got stuck in the hurricane too, trying to assist people.
And so that would have been because of the level of sea surge?
Yeah, sea surge coming in from the sea into the land, at least like 5 to 6 feet of water.
Now, we were not allowed complete access to the Club Med property with only a glimpse of downed trees. However, the Deputy Prime Minister shared his concerns.
But I'm worried about the extent of damages to Club Med, because as you know, Club Med is the economic engine for that island, and any disruption of their services and of their business may have that consequential impact on the island community.
The mangled remains of a trailer home behind me was definitely no match for Hurricane Joaquin. The assessment continues here on the island of Rum Cay. The Rum Cay government dock is a shell. A plane lay toppled at the Rum Cay airport. Homes showing signs of water damage and flooding are just some telltale signs of the damage leveled against the tiny island. Resident Brian McKee said he had to make a critical decision during the storm.
I've lived here, my wife and I, for about 10 years now, and I've never seen anything like this ever in my life anywhere. I mean, I was in the house and the wind was blowing, probably walls were moving, and the windows were covered, but they were rattling to the point that it was like, I got to get out of here.
So you ran out into the storm.
I ran out, and we had this old car in the weeds that's like sort of like a capsule. They're tempered glass in the windows. Yeah. And I crawled in the back of a Pathfinder. It was incredible. It was like a whiteout at times. It was like a locomotive. You could hear it. It would come, and then when it peaked out for maybe a couple hours, it was blowing horizontally. Whiteout. You couldn't see.
Various homes in Rum Cay sustained varying degrees of damage. Command Center operator Anna Strawn provides a breakdown.
5's home at the level 3, which is you need repairs. We have to find someplace, stay with the relatives. And then we have 4 homes that are completely destroyed that you're just going to have to rebuild. So we will have to find some place to accommodate you.
Chairman of the Bahamas Electricity Corporation, Leslie Miller, gave his assessment for repairs.
Mr. Dowell and I and the Minister have observed with Rum Cay is really manpower need. We need to put 20 poles need to go down to Rum Cay. We need to send a crew down there of at least 4 to 6 men with a digger and also a bucket truck to restore. We would think if we can move swiftly, if we're allowed to move swiftly by the minister, we could probably have Rum Cay restored, I would say, within a week to 10 days.
All efforts continue at directing aid to the hardest hit communities. Jiminita Swain, ZNS Network News.
Well, the Deputy Prime Minister and MP for Cat Island, Rum Cay and San Salvador, Philip Brave Davis, completed an initial assessment of two of the islands he represents, one of which you just saw. Both islands suffered extensive damage with downed power lines and homes left in need of repair. With preliminary assessments out of the way, Mr. Davis says finding homes for residents in San Salvador is now being factored in.
From reports from the chairperson of the disaster committee, Mr. Paul Turnquist, and the superintendent of all, there are still about 200 persons in each of the shelters unable to go back to their home because of the destruction there. And so we are trying to get enough food back to the islands by tomorrow so they could have food and water. So I'll be going back again tomorrow sometime to deliver some more stuff.
You've been represented.
The Deputy Prime Minister is thanking corporate organizations like Bahamas Food Services, Chelsea's Choice, and others, which quickly mobilized relief supplies. He announced how urban renewal will play a role in the relief effort.
Urban Renewal and the co-chair, Alton Allen, jumped to the occasion, and he too, with Deputy Director Gregory Butler, has also contributed a lot of the food that you see we took out today. I'm also to advise through Chairman Allen that the Commission, the Urban Renewal Commission, has indicated to me that they will be making a donation directly to NEMA, an amount of about $50,000 to assist in the recovery efforts. So that I hope will be happening very soon.
Well, Acklins is one of the islands which took a severe beating from Hurricane Joaquin, as well as several of the other islands in the Michael chain. Those islands too remain without electricity and phone services, though it has been restored in some pockets. Member of Parliament for Mayaguana, Inagua, Acklins and Crooked Island and Long Cay, the Honorable V. Alfred Gray, says he's eager to know the status of those constituencies and was hopeful about getting on the ground in those islands.
I spoke with the administrator, and I spoke to two private citizens who had access to satellite phones. And the airports in both Crooked Island and Acklins were underwater when they spoke to me. And I'm advised by Aviation Department that they are still underwater, and they will be so until at least Monday. I've also spoken to the administrators who confirm that several homes were damaged in the areas to which he had had access up to that point. Some 7 or 8 homes were completely destroyed. And so if I took that to mean what the island's position is like, I would expect that there are many homes that were destroyed in the hurricane, on the wake of the hurricane in both Crooked Island and Acklins. The immediate need for me, and I speak for the people, will be to get in there, assess the damage, and to provide food and water. Acklins and Crooked Island have already experienced perhaps the most difficult lives between them in our country. Any devastation make lives very difficult for them.
Now, Minister Gray actually returned from Acklins late this afternoon. We'll have footage and further details of the damage from that island coming up in the Bahamas Tonight at 11, which will be live right here on the ZNS Network. We hope you'd stay tuned for that. Well, Minister of Transport and Aviation Glenys Hannah Martin has confirmed that the majority of airports across the country are open, with the exception of the one in Colonel Hill, Crooked Island, in Spring Point, Acklins, and at Deadman's Key, Long Island. She explained the process that has to take place before an airport is declared officially open again.
Usually by an overflight, an aerial overflight, you get a heads up as to the runway. Where the runway appears clear, the Department of Civil Aviation seeks to have an officer on the ground, usually an airport worker, officer, or a member of the Royal Bahamas Defense Police Force, who will visually inspect and then declare the airport open. This and then, of course, if there's water on the airport, which you see in an overflight, that is a confirmed position. So that's the process, and we've had several overflights in those three airports, and the accumulation of water is, very discernible and deemed not to be safe. Okay. So that's the process.
Meanwhile, Social Services Minister Melanie Griffin says social services will be working with the Red Cross and international agencies to bring assistance along with automatic emergency assistance that the Department of Social Services provides. She reminded those donating items to have those items checked and sent through NEMA to ensure that those items end up with those who need it most.
The process for persons wishing to donate to distressed persons or to make donations is that they ought to go through NEMA, which is the body designated to receive donations, and even persons, persons who are local organizations who wish to donate should be able to coordinate through NEMA as well. From food supplies and water, which there's a critical need, there would be a need for clothing for both adults, children, and infants. And again as well for like you say, certain personal hygienic supplies.
A nonpartisan approach is being promoted as the government moves to bring relief to islands stricken by the hurricane. Opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis joined a team into Long Island and other areas hard hit by the storm. He noted that residents and country should be priority and not politics.
I'd also like the schools to do the same thing. I think it would be great if each and every school would ask every child to bring a can of some non-perishable item to the schools so it can be sent to Red Cross and brought to the areas that are affected. I think it would also teach the children how important it is to act as one and that there's no division, especially when it comes to lives and when it comes to national disaster. We must work as one. And once there's any national disaster, it's not politics. You must remember that the islands were hit by Hurricane Joaquin. Joaquin did not determine which was red and which was white. Joaquin only devastated homes generally. And we must work accordingly. We must work together as one Bahamas to bring this nation back.
Member of Parliament for Long Island, Loretta Butler Turner, spoke with us yesterday after conducting an aerial assessment of the damage in her Long Island constituency. She's appealing to the public to assist Long Island as best they can.
Just getting to some of our people, especially in the areas of Mangrove Bush, Buckley, Scrub Hill, Berries, Roses. This is all South Long Island. It's overwhelming. We have a lot of people lined up, ready to help, ready to volunteer, and to give. But it's important now that other Bahamians understand the dire needs that our brothers and sisters are going through, and this is going to have to be a national effort with people trying to help.
Well, while on the island, ZNS News talked with resident Dillis Smith, who shared her concern that government would provide fast assistance for residents.
This hurricane was a monster. Yeah. I've never experienced nothing like this before. Yeah. What I went through, I said, I don't want to go through this again. I was okay, I'm fine, because where I'm living, I'm on a hill, and I'm living in a bunker. Yeah. And I was protected, but I was worried about those persons who I know was in areas like how I am situated.
Well, Long Islanders residing here in the capital gathered at Montague Beach yesterday, joining hands in prayer for family members and friends who were affected by Hurricane Joaquin. As you can imagine, it was an emotional day for all, seeking answers and hoping for good news. Here's Kelsey Johnson.
A community has joined hands in hopes of building and bringing relief to a devastated island where their family members and friends reside. With limited to no phone calls going into Long Island, descendants residing in New Providence gathered at Montague Beach yesterday to orchestrate their next move.
My parents are from Mangrove Bush, Long Island, where they build the sailboats, and they took a big pound and a lot of salt water came in and damaged a lot of homes. As far as I know, my parents are all right, but they have a lot of devastation there. And I'm waiting to hear from my parents to see how bad their property is done so we could fly up. I heard from my sister about yesterday evening.
And how did she describe the community in Mangrove Bush?
She says devastating, it's like Katrina.
The lack of communication for days has left Long Island descendant Patricia Major very worried about her 83-year-old mother and other family members in the Deadman's Key settlement. An emotional Major is grateful for the opportunity to lean on other strong individuals, but she asks the nation to keep all who were affected by the storm in their prayers.
We're hoping, because they've weathered storms before. The only thing we're not sure of is if my mom, who's 83, is alone in her house, or she's with them, or somebody's with them. But we're hopeful. We'll rally around everybody, and as soon as we can go up, we will be going up to do what we can to support them, and if they're okay, we'll just continue working with all the others.
The Long Island Association is just one of many organizations that have put systems in place to send relief items to that island. Here's how you can donate.
You can go on the Long Islanders Association Facebook page. We've also set up a page that's called the Long Island Hurricane Relief, and we have set up a relief fund at Scotiabank where you can deposit funds. There's a U-Caring account that has been set up through Facebook as well. All the information is on our Facebook page, and we have distribution spots, the kitchen on Shirley Street, that's near the Shirley Street Theater. We also have Island Cellular, Cartwright's Garage on Mackey Street. Then there's Seahorse Institute on Soldier Road, as well as Odyssey and at the airport, Odyssey Airport. We are also, if people have stuff and they need it collected, we are more than willing to pick it up.
Interested persons can also take donated items to the island link at Potterski Dock. The boat will be taking freight up until sailing time on Tuesday for Long Island. Kelsey Johnson, ZNS Network News.
Well, these are some of the pictures that our viewers have continued to send in to ZNS News, and we hope you'll continue to keep them coming. We're asking that you send all pics to ZNS with the hashtag Joaquin Aftermath ZNS. Ragged Island is beginning to return to a state of normalcy nearly 4 days after the storm passed by. Our Vaughn Albury is there.
Telephone and internet services to Ragged Island, Long Island, and Inagua will take a little longer to restore. Technicians report that the BTC exchange in Clarencetown is underwater, affecting restoration efforts. It could take a few days for service in Long Island, Inagua, and Ragged Island to resume. Meanwhile, here on Ragged Island, electricity was restored at 5 p.m. Saturday, and that BEC team from Exuma left Duncantown 11 a.m. Sunday to conduct assessments in Crooked Island, Mayaguana, and Inagua. The mail boat, the Captain C, will sail late this afternoon for the Exuma Keys and Nassau. On that mail boat will be this ZNS reporter and cameraman Karen Miller, who initially planned to take the mail boat rather than fly to get a real island life experience that for so many Family Island residents is the only way to travel, as there are no scheduled flights to their islands or settlements. Our journey was anything but routine, but it is an experience we'll be talking about for the rest of our lives. Reporting from Duncantown, Ragged Island, I am Vaughn Albury, ZNS Network News.
The island of Exuma and its keys were for the most part spared the brunt of the Category 4 Hurricane Joaquin, which started out as a tropical depression and rapidly mushroomed into a Category 4 storm, which lingered for more than 2 days over the southern and central Bahamas, leaving a trail of destruction. Island Administrator Neil Campbell tells our Janaea Noel Ferguson tonight about the quick recovery in Exuma and how that island is being used to assist those hardest hit.
Restoration was a quick process in Exuma as the island only encountered minimal flooding, a few snapped trees, and debris which littered the streets. Island Administrator Neil Campbell said volunteers and various agencies got together almost immediately as soon as the all clear was given to clean, restore, and rebuild.
A lot of persons volunteering from the local community in collaboration with local government, and they were doing basic cleanup of fallen trees, scattered leaves, refuge. Also, we had some assistance from the Exuma Foundation, but also with the pickup and the discarding of the garbage. We can say that in Williamstown and in Rollville, and also in Georgetown, those were the areas that really started off the cleaning process. The Keys didn't experience anything significant. The Chief Consul, Deputy Chief Consul, and the Consular in Daniel Key reporting that they had fair weather throughout, just a bit of spring tide in the Farmers Key area. But afterwards, many of the water would have receded as well.
And with the Exuma Airport back in full operation, Campbell said the island is being used as a hub to receive supplies from international agencies, which will be dispersed to other central and southern islands adversely impacted by the storm.
Using Exuma's airport as a hub, we have NEMA personnel on the ground as we speak, and they're arranging the relief activities through Exuma. There's Mr. Lewis, the representative for NEMA, who says under Captain Russell has secured an office space there right at the airport. And as the helicopters and other persons who want to send relief items into Long Island, he's a gentleman presently on the island who is arranging all of the relief. Also, the Exuma Foundation, Mr. Dwight Ha, concerned residents, the Red Cross, local government, everybody in some form or fashion, because we have a lot of Long Islanders that reside here or on business here. They're also reaching out to their families and relatives and other persons in Long Island, either flying in or they're going by boat.
Campbell added that Exuma has also received a number of tourists that were stranded in Long Island. They will be sent to New Providence for connecting flights. Medical patients were also sent to Exuma from Crooked Island for much-needed treatment. Residents of Exuma, he said, are banding together in whatever way they can to assist.
And also we would have cut a bypass road just for residents to go into the Williamstown area. But all basic services throughout the entire island is either on or is about to be turned on. But we got a response, some updates reference to BEC and water and sewage. The water is on, and BEC teams are presently working, and everything ought to be up and running fully on the entire island by either tonight or tomorrow.
He also noted that school and other government offices will resume operations in the Exumas on Wednesday. Janaea Noel Ferguson, ZNS Network News.
Well, as you just heard, Exuma, one of Long Island's closest neighbors, is helping to lead the distribution of relief aid. The Georgetown International Airport being used as a distribution point for the transport of essentials. We spoke with the businessman Elvis Roll about the plans.
They're setting up a command center here in Exuma at the airport where they are storing stuff to send down to Long Island. So far, right now, they're organizing 2 boats to go down, starting probably tomorrow. I think the plane went down today. There's 2 other guys to see how best they can get things up and going. I think the roads are in such a bad condition, they have to go in by boat in different settlements to drop things off.
Now, Rose says he himself has relatives in Long Island, and he talked about the bond which the 2 islands share.
Not as yet. I tried to contact my brother down there, Derek Rose, and so far I couldn't reach anybody.
Tell me a little bit about the relationship between
Long Island and Exuma normally?
To be honest with you, Exuma-Long Island, they are very, very close. Long Island is like Exuma. It's like we all work together as one. I must say Exuma-Long Island was very close.
So you feel a part of them and a part of their pain right now?
Much of it, because right now it's like I have family members over there, my brothers over there, my nephews over there. I have family members over there. My granddaddy was sent from Long Island.
Well, Crooked Island is just one of the islands which now knows all too well the wrath of Hurricane Joaquin, which left it without power, communication, and basic necessities. Now residents are left to pick up the pieces and rebuild, but they're getting some assistance from fellow countrymen here in New Providence. Hailing from that island, the Crooked Island group has wasted no time in lending a helping hand. Its president, Javon Moss, confirmed to ZNS News on Sunday that a seaplane was sent into the island with those supplies. Still, the need is great, and he's therefore urging other Bahamians to pitch in.
We were understanding that there may be barges heading into the south tomorrow. We want to make sure, we want to plead to people to make sure there's heavy equipment on these barges so that a lot of the supplies that are being sent actually get into the communities that are affected. There are a lot of homes that are damaged based on the images that we've seen. Still, there's no communication out of Long Cay, which is a part of Crooked Island, and we want to make sure that they're getting the attention that they require. Right now, we don't want people to think that everything is good and clear. You know, certainly the devastation, the destruction is unbelievable in Crooked Island and Long Cay, and we want the Bahamas to know. We've had friends from far and near that's already starting to show their support. We don't want that support to stop, because right now, in the next 48 hours, this is some critical time. We need to get all the resources necessary on the island.
Now, Moss says this is just the beginning of the effort. Another plane is expected to be dispatched on Monday. With family on the island, Moss says the group of descendants felt compelled to do something.
The young people have come together from Crooked Island, and we're reaching out to all of our resources, and we're very thankful, because right now people from far and near, some people that are unattached to Crooked Island have come to our aid, and we're very, very thankful, and we just want the spirit of working together to improve. Right now, we want that spirit to continue. People in Crooked Island are without communication, without electricity for the last, right now it's 5 days, so as you can imagine, and destruction is all around. We want to almost send a spirit of hope and let the people of Crooked Island families know to not give up. We're going to do all we can on this side, and we do not want them to give up. We need them to keep in high spirit, know that we're helping, we're on the ground doing all we can to make sure that they get what they need. And we're praying. We're a praying group of people. We want them to know that they're in our thoughts and prayers, and we've not forgotten them.
Well, a group of social workers and nurses left early Sunday afternoon to conduct extensive assessments and provide relief to those distressed residents in the islands. Chief Probation Officer Deidre Hepburn and Trainee Welfare Officer Stephanie Hanna both explain why the visits are so important.
The information that we will provide will give our department the information that is needed to provide the various items that the residents would need. Our role also include determining where the residents are at right now. I'm sure some of them are experiencing some emotional distress, so that is also something that we'll be looking into to see how we could assist them in that area.
We try to meet clients where they are at. So no matter whatever situation that arises, we try to be fluid with them. So whatever the need is, we try our best to assist wherever we can. My goal would be to try to conduct as much successful assessments as possible. Hopefully the weather is on our side.
Well, a 6-member team of social workers will be on those islands, 2 of them in Crooked Island and the remaining 4 in Acklins. Crooked Island, Acklins, Long Island and San Salvador were the islands, as you know, which were hardest hit by Joaquin. Meantime, Nurse Joyanne Wilson is one of 2 nurses heading into San Salvador. More than 200 people fared Hurricane Joaquin in shelters. With training in both disaster preparedness and shelter management, Wilson believes her background will go a long way in bringing relief to those residents in need.
From being a nurse assisting with nursing situations, as part of the Department of Public Health, whoever nurses are on the island, we will also be able to do initial damage assessment. Persons need to know that help is here, that we're here. I think that would sort of cause people to relax a little bit, to know that people are here to help. Then first of all, we want to know that the basic needs are met, especially in terms of water and food supply.
The Royal Bahamas Defense Force has already deployed teams to the southern and central Bahamas to assist where needed. These are the areas hardest hit by the hurricane. Now that the storm has passed, the Bahamas Senior Lieutenant Origen Delaveau of the Defense Force says the mission for officers who are called in from leave is to ensure that normalcy is restored as soon as possible.
We have teams in San Salvador, Crooked Island. We're getting a team getting ready to leave now to go to Auckland. We have a team in Long Island. We have a team getting ready to be dispatched to South Long Island, and of course Rum Cay and San Salvador as well.
What's the word coming in off the ground from crews who are already in place?
Well, of course, you know, the hurricane was not kind to us. The damages to infrastructures are pretty bad. The roads are impassable in some cases. Some of the docks have been destroyed. Problems with water, potable water. And so Captain Russell and the NEMA, of course, we're coordinating efforts to ensure that we do our best to get the manpower and the supplies to these places where needed.
Now, Delaveau added that assistance from uniformed organizations from all over the Western Hemisphere have pledged their support to assist the Bahamas and should be arriving with those supplies soon.
Persons who are promised, and some of them are on the way, promised assistance. Of course, we just recently received massive medical supplies, personal health kits from the U.S. government. Those products are being loaded and sent as well to those islands. That's the U.S. government, the U.S. military. We have the British who are also rendering assistance. And so we're excited about our local partners. We're happy for their assistance. We call it Hero Help. So we're happy for that Hero Help. And so NEMA, once again, like I said, is doing its best to ensure that we do what we do best as a defense force, ensuring that we get into those local areas, those ravaged areas, and affect recovery efforts the best way we can.
Well, a day after the all-clear was given by forecasters, residents throughout New Providence sprung into action, launching an island-wide emergency relief drive. Donated items ranged from bread and water to toiletries, clothing, canned goods, and dog food. And while there's been a good showing, volunteer Dr. Sophia Roll underscored that the need is still great. She outlined exactly what is needed. Odyssey Aviation was buzzing with activity on Sunday as volunteers prepared items to be flown out to those affected islands, and they're calling on Bahamians to step up and to be our brother's keeper.
We firstly would like to thank all of the persons who would have brought food items and clothing and various goods and so on out here. But there are some specific things that we're hearing from the islands that, the best we could, that's really needed, and items such as charcoal, butane stoves with oils that they can use portably, matches, batteries, paper products, candles, lighter fluids, cooking stuff, pans, pots, utensils, and so on, insect repellent. We know that's going to be a serious thing because of the water. Medication for adults, for babies, baby food, baby needs. Those are the kinds of things that we really, really need.
We want to thank you for sending in your pics from the aftermath of Hurricane Joaquin, but we ask you to keep them coming. You can send all of those pictures with the hashtag #WaquinAftermathZNS. You're watching a special edition of the Bahamas Tonight, The Recovery.